Greetings. I did my philosophy project on stem cells. Today I'll be discussing the controversial topic of stem cell use and overview two ethical theories, the theories being utilitarianism and Kantian ethics. I will also examine the US and United Kingdom and their policy on stem cell use as they relate to ethical theories. Stem cells are a revolutionary new area of research that appear to have unworldly health benefits. Stem cell use in research has resulted in the curing of the HIV and AIDS virus in test runs, organ and skin tissue regrowth, and the treating of rare and lethal diseases. Despite promising results, there is controversy over the use of stem cells. It's common knowledge that cells are the building block for life. Like atoms, are some of the smallest structure units for living organisms. Stem cells, like normal cells, are part of the building blocks for life, but are undifferentiated, meaning their abilities and jobs aren't decided yet among cells. Analogy of this would be like putting pieces of a puzzle together. The completed puzzle representing the human body and pieces of the puzzle the cell. Each cell goes into different parts of the body and are used in different ways, much like different pieces depict different portions of the image. Now imagine you had an extra piece that could fit into any place you wanted within the puzzle. That's essentially what stem cells are. These stem cells can be used to treat a variety of treatments, but usually are used for organ problems or rare diseases and more. Stem cells originally derived from the stem of life and conception with the stages of a fetus's growth. In modern times, all that has changed. With today's technology and science, our current ability to harvest or create stem cells are only successful to about 4 ways, though only 2 out of the 4 are used beyond research. The 4 ways are perinatal or fetal stem cells, adult stem cells, embryonic stem cells, and cloned human embryonic stem cells. The research for stem cell use is very current and new methods and research are developed constantly. As it stands now, the controversial methods for obtaining human stem cells are human cloned embryonic stem cells, and perinatal stem cells. Human stem cells, as mentioned earlier, weren't included as it takes from live adults with minimum harm done to the patient. Now, to explain the controversial stem cell methods, first we need to start off with embryonic stem cells. These are some of the most commonplace used stem cells. Embryonic stem cells derive from embryos that have been created via in vitro fertilization, usually the extras from fertility clinics that are donated with the owner's consent. Now, the controversy, like the abortion debate, derives from where does life begin? The second method of obtaining stem cells are aborted/perinatal stem cells. These are stem cells that are collected from the tissue of aborted fetuses. Some of the methods of extraction are very gruesome. The controversy here once again asks, where does life begin? Next, we'll discuss the theories of utilitarianism and Kantian ethics and applying them to stem cells. Proceeding to our next theory, utilitarianism is an ethical theory that general belief is in maximizing happiness or well-being. There are many different types of utilitarianism, but starting with the most prominent version is act utilitarianism. This form of utilitarianism believes that welfare is the only thing of value. This version of utilitarianism calls for you to do whatever possible to improve the overall well-being more than anything else. This refers to the principle of utility. Another utilitarian belief similar to the principle of utility is optimific. Optimific means whatever policy or law will yield the greatest balance of benefits over drawbacks. Some versions of utilitarianism deviate quite a bit from the original well-being doctrine. People like Smart and Alistair Norcross. I'll mention these two because they add perspective to the discussion. John Jameson Carswell Smart, otherwise known as Smart, introduces 2 forms of utilitarianism, extreme and restricted. Under extreme utilitarianism, ethical decisions are based on results. Restricted is more the opposite. It seeks that actions are reasonable by rules or laws that optimize happiness. Moving on to the next form of utilitarianism is Norcross doctrine or belief. Alistair Norcross, in his work Puppies, Pigs, and People, created a sort of counter argument against meat consumers. His argument considers animals and humans, or marginal humans, less autonomous people, are both moral agents that we should consider their suffering as well. Moral agents meaning you should consider them as well when looking to maximize well-being. He argues that it's hypocritical to pick and choose who we acknowledge. Now that we have a basic understanding of utilitarianism, it's quite easy to see how their train of thought might be applied. Depending on whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, acting under Smart's utilitarianism or the principle of utility, you would likely choose to maximize the well-being, even if that meant using fetuses / marginal human beings. If you're going by Norcross's utilitarianism, you might decide to include them in your moral community, which may lead you to end their suffering, or go to the other extreme, or include them as no more than animals, which agrees to treat any non-autonomous person in a similar fashion. Overall, though, a utilitarian's argument would seek to use stem cells by the most optimistic means necessary. Now proceeding to our next theory, we're going to discuss and apply Kantian ethics as the opposition of utilitarianism. The Kantian perspective or ethics were created by philosopher Immanuel Kant. It's a very common doctrine of philosophy promoting justice, fairness, autonomy, and respect. The correct or moral thing under Kantian teaching usually goes through a test on what is moral. According to Kantian ethics, only things that are fair and just are allowed, with taking consideration of the golden rule. The golden rule meaning to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Another guideline of Kantian ethics is the principle of universality. This states that an act is morally acceptable if and only if its maxim is universal, which is the amplified version of the golden rule. So for any genuine intent or maxim, by applying the universality rule, means that the world would be okay with your action being committed or acting in a similar fashion around the world. Another noteworthy branch of thought pertaining to stem cells is Kantian's perspective on autonomy and respect for life. This goes under Kant's belief of treating humans and or autonomous beings with the utmost respect. His belief in human dignity were because our differentiating facts from animals makes our lives invaluable. Now proceeding to apply Kantian perspective on stem cell use, it's easy to determine how Kantian ethics apply. In each method of harvesting stem cells, the embryos or fetuses aren't autonomous at all, which would get the approval of Kant because the value only exists in autonomous life forms, according to Kantian ethics. Stem cells, as of now, aren't universal. There's a lot of discourse about it right now, so the golden rule or universality can't be applied. And this concludes that Kantian ethics has the input for stem cells, but can't end up with any conclusions philosophically. Moving on from ethical theories and scientific data, we'll move on to policy of the United States and United Kingdom. Right now, as it stands, not many laws are in place for stem cell research, and the discussion for new laws are happening on a constant basis as we speak. The two countries I will be comparing are the United Kingdom and United States. For the United States, one of the leaders in the world for STEM research, laws are very strict regarding what research is useful and permitted. According to the HFE Act that was changed in 2008, allows more freedom in research techniques. So far, it's had success with high regulation and usefulness. This approach to policy is very utilitarian-like, as they're looking and constantly changing law to make it more effective and very carefully doing so. The next country is the United States, which is inherently different from the United Kingdom, with different states and legal rights, though the U.S. has had a few laws changed, state and federal-wise, on the funding situation. So far, most states haven't created many laws, and few more liberal-leaning states are allowing its research and have been funded with tax and state federal money. Other states are making laws against its use and funding. Obama in recent years removed one restriction due to the budget to allow the use of federal funds in more cases. Overall, this approach is similar to the United Kingdom, but differs as many laws put in place to limit stem cell use. Also, a lot of groups that oppose an administration that are pushing against its use sees it as immoral, and a lot of pro-life individuals, which is very similar to Kantian ethics of dignity and value, but without the autonomy. In retrospect of this presentation, we have learned about stem cell use and the value of ethical theories and applying them. We've learned the issue of policy between two countries, the United States and the UK, the United States feeling against stem cell use alongside Kantian ethics, which might not last. And lastly, the UK feels more open to stem cell use, but could greatly increase or decrease depending on the form of utilitarianism.